following is a CBS 6 special presentation.
On Memorial Day, we honor the 12,000 names listed in the Shrine of Memory at the Virginia War Memorial. Each year, we add new names as we discover ones that were omitted or ones that have paid the ultimate sacrifice more recently. It's part of our Memorial Day ceremony to make sure everyone knows those newly added names. Sergeant Robert Heel is part of the Army Air Forces working on B-29 bombers. He worked in Norfolk Naval Shipyard before the war, and then his bomber was shot down over the Bay of Bengal in the Pacific in 1944. His brother was on service in Europe during that time and learned of his brother's death. Lieutenant Carl Livesey, Army Air Forces, was aboard a B-29 that went down off the coast of Guam. His crew was never recovered. Corporal Theodore Landy is from Norfolk City. He was serving in the 2nd Infantry Division in Korea. He was taken prisoner and taken up to a prison camp on the banks of the Yalu River in North Korea. He died from exposure, and his remains were never recovered. Staff Sergeant Mark Stetz Jr. is from Virginia Beach. He originally entered the military in the Navy, but while stationed in California, he joined the Army and served in the 4th Psychological Operations Group. Mark was killed by an IED in Pakistan. Ensuring that these names are added to the Shrine of Memory is an important mission for all of us, and it's a promise we hold to those Gold Star family members that those names will be preserved forever.
These brave men and women gave all so that our flag can fly high and proud. Today, we remember these heroes through this special tribute, live on the grounds of the Virginia War Memorial. This is the Commonwealth's Memorial Day ceremony.
Well, good morning. Good morning. And welcome to the 2026 commemoration of the Virginia War Memorial's Memorial Day. My name is Clay Mountcastle. I'm the director of the Virginia War Memorial. And as always, we are very pleased to have you joining us here today, either in person or watching via live broadcast. Now, of course, we would have rather been out in the Highland Amphitheater today doing that, but Mother Nature had other plans for us. But that will not dampen the spirit of today's event. We have a special welcome to our members of the military that are with us today, both past and present. Our Gold Star family members joining us today, our Blue Star family members, of course. Thank you so much for being here. It is always an honor to be joined by Governor Spanberger. Thank you, Madam Governor, for being here today. Virginia's First Gentleman, thank you, sir, for joining us today, as well as Secretary Williams and Major General Ring. Sirs, thank you for joining us. And just to everybody for taking the time today to start the summer off the right way. It's not a day of celebration, but you're starting your summer the right way with us here today. Memorial Day, a day for reflection, a day to be grateful, and a day to be proud. I'm grateful for heroes like my buddy, U.S. Army Captain J.R. Teal of Mechanicsville, who was killed in Iraq in 2003, and I'm proud to say that I knew him. I'm grateful that my father told me about his good friend, Lieutenant Chuck Ehrenholt, killed in action in Pleiku Province, Vietnam. And I'm proud that every day, every Memorial Day, my dad still goes to visit his friend, buried at the National Cemetery in Sandston. But each one of us has those heroes for which we are grateful and proud, even if we don't know every single name. Today, gratitude and pride go hand in hand. On Memorial Day, we don't celebrate, but rather we commemorate. We openly acknowledge that to remain a strong and prosperous society, we must keep those who have given their own lives to make it so in the forefront of our minds. When we see the American flags flying today, look upon them with both gratitude and pride. And now, If you are able, please stand for the performance of our national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance. Our national anthem will now be performed by the 29th Infantry Division Band and Fife and Drum. Now, please remain standing as Sergeant Amina McDonald of the Virginia Army National Guard leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Please be seated. I think it's displayed by the quality of the band and the quality of our pledge leader that the Virginia National Guard is a preeminent National Guard in the nation. The Virginia National Guard is always on duty, always ready to support and defend the Commonwealth. And our Virginia National Guard has also keenly felt the loss of several of its own while serving the Commonwealth and the nation. It's always a great pleasure to be joined by Virginia's Adjutant General, Commander of the Virginia National Guard, and longtime friend and supporter of the Virginia War Memorial, Major General James Ring. Sir.
Good morning. Good morning. Governor, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and fellow citizens, it is a pleasure to be with you on this solemn day of national remembrance in the sacred space of the Virginia War Memorial. As we assemble in these spaces amongst the alabaster walls and glass of this memorial, along with those gathered in remembrance throughout the Commonwealth, our nation, and truly throughout the globe, let us remember with reverence, deep gratitude, and overwhelming thanksgiving for those who came before us, who lived lives of sacrifice and service, who gave their lives for the values we hold so dear of liberty, freedom, peace, justice, prosperity, and tranquility. On this Memorial Day, we come together to reflect on the price of freedom and to pay tribute to those who gave their lives that we may live freely every day as citizens. On this Memorial Day, we come together to reflect on the price of freedom and to pay tribute to those who gave their lives that we may live freely. We will ensure that the memory of their lives and service is never forgotten and remains in our hearts and in our minds and in our nation's remembrance. We are forever grateful, and we honor them for their selfless service and sacrifice. In a world that yearns for peace and tranquility, and in a society that yearns for men and women who live lives of honor and service, we remember these men and women for their courage, for their honor, for their service, and for their sacrifice. They exemplify the very best of our country, and they embody the values that we hold dear. We also honor the families left behind, the parents, the spouses, the children, and the loved ones who bear the weight of their absence. To those family and loved ones, we offer our deepest gratitude and extend our thoughts and prayers for your loss. Your sacrifices are immeasurable, and we also remember you on this Memorial Day. So let us renew our commitment and carry forward the legacy of those we remember. Let us uphold the freedoms they fought to defend. Let us ensure that their sacrifice was not in vain by holding to the ideals for which they lived and for which they died, so that future generations may also enjoy the blessings of life, liberty, freedom, and the pursuit of happiness. May God bless you, may God bless this Commonwealth, and may God bless America.
Thank you, sir. While I deeply admire the commitment and hard work that our next speaker puts in every day to serve veterans and military families across this Commonwealth, I think what I've always most admired about Secretary Williams is his deep love of history and how it connects Virginia's past with its present. You know, a few years ago, as Virginia's Adjutant General, Secretary Williams took upon it himself to travel the state explaining the storied history and impact of the 29th Infantry Division. And it wasn't about a patch. It was about preserving the legacy of those Virginians who fought and died in the Meuse-Argonne offensive of World War I, or those who were first to hit Omaha Beach early in the morning of June 6, 1944, or those who pushed through the hedgerows and died while liberating St. Lo. Secretary Williams understands that their legacy and that of every Virginian who has laid down their lives for us in battle is not only worth remembering, but it's worth protecting. And so it's my pleasure to have him here today to provide his own remarks and to introduce our keynote speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, Virginia's Secretary of Veterans and Defense Affairs, the Honorable Timothy Williams.
Good morning. Clay, I got to tell you, you certainly humbled me with those words, and I really greatly and deeply appreciate your introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Dr. Mountcastle, please. Thank you for what you do. And it truly is such an honor to be here with you today as we commemorate the Commonwealth's Memorial Day ceremony for the 70th consecutive year on these hallowed grounds of the Virginia War Memorial, where every day is Memorial Day, and the names and stories of the Virginia men and women who gave the ultimate sacrifice are honored and remembered all year long. As a native Richmonder, I have great memories of visiting the beautiful memorial here that we sit here today in, and going back to my childhood and high school days, and many times since during my military and government career. We can all be proud that we Virginians have always been among the first patriots to answer the call of duty. From the Revolutionary War 250 years ago, through the many conflicts since, and even though the challenges we face across the world today. And here is truly no more fitting location to be than right here, where we can gather on this Memorial Day to show our appreciation to the nearly 12,000 men and women who gave their very lives to protect and defend our freedoms during World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Persian Gulf, Afghanistan, and the global war on terrorism. It is also the day for us to remember and pray for our Gold Star families, these heroes left behind. And I can say from a personal standpoint from my days in the Army that there is no sadder experience for a military officer to have to deliver the news of a service member's death to their loved ones. These men and women we honor and remember today came from every part of the Commonwealth, from small towns like Danville that we were at yesterday, the towns and cities and rural villages and farms. Many of us here have a personal connection to these fellow Virginians whose names are inscribed on the walls of this shrine. To all of you that are gathered here today, and those of you joining us on television or streaming, I'll say thank you for being a part of these important patriotic and inspiring ceremonies. And I assure you, it is time incredibly well spent. It's now my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker for the ceremony, who, as part of her military duties, or many duties, serves as the Commander-in-Chief of our Virginia National Guard. And she is no stranger to this memorial, having been a familiar presence at many other ceremonies and veterans events. And while serving as a member of the U.S. Congress and now as our Chief Executive, she has consistently shown her true commitment to the well-being of our Commonwealth's military veterans, their spouses, and their families. And I am proud to serve in her administration as the Secretary of Veterans and Defense Affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming the 75th Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Governor Abigail Spanberger.
Thank you, Secretary Williams, Adjutant General Ring, Dr. Mountcastle. Good morning. To the veterans gathered here today, it is a pleasure to be with you as we remember those who never came home from their service. To the Blue Star families, thank you for being here. And to the Gold Star families, we are here to honor the ones, family members, your loved ones, who have been lost. To all who have joined us in this commemoration this morning, here or at home, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this annual event meant to commemorate those Virginia has lost all year long. Right now, as we gather, the Virginia Department of Veteran Services is hosting Memorial Day ceremonies at state veteran cemeteries, in Amelia, Dublin, and Suffolk. A reminder that today, all across our Commonwealth, Virginians are pausing together to honor those we have lost. To them and to those watching at home, thank you for joining us. There is no more important work that we could be doing. There is no more important place than we could be here today. And for 70 years on this hillside overlooking the James River, Virginians have gathered to remember. Through years of war, years of uneasy peace, through grief still raw and grief grown old, through seasons of doubt and seasons of resolve, every single year, we have come back here together to say in one unified voice that we have not forgotten. Because that is who we are here in Virginia. That is who we are as a Commonwealth. And this year, the 250th year since American independence and our quest for it, it is particularly poignant to pause and take stock of what that remembering really means. 2.5 centuries ago, a group of ordinary citizens made an extraordinary wager. They pledged their lives, their homes, and their sacred honor to the idea that Americans should govern themselves, that a nation built on the idea of freedom, a nation built on ideals, was worth fighting for. And Virginia was at the center of that wager from the very beginning. It was here, on Virginia soil at Yorktown, that General George Washington and his allies forced the British to surrender, ending the Revolutionary War. Nearly a century later, when the Civil War came, the bloodiest chapter in our national story, many of its chapters were also written in Virginia. In the Second World War, Virginia sent our sons and daughters to North Africa, to Poland, to the Philippines, and of course, to Normandy. It was in Normandy that 19 young men from the town of Bedford landed on the beaches of Normandy on D-Day, June 6, 1944, and perished there. 4 more from Bedford died in the Normandy campaign. It was a Virginia community that suffered the highest per capita loss in that quest to free Europe. And throughout the 20th century, Virginians had served bravely in every corner of the globe. Thousands of names are on these walls from the wars in Korea and Vietnam, conflicts that tested not just the courage of those who served, but the character of our country, the country that sent them. And a generation later, Virginians who answered the call and gave their lives during the Persian Gulf War, their names are on this wall, heroes who sacrificed so much. And then came September 11th, 2001, when the Pentagon on Virginia soil was struck, where 184 people lost their lives, among them Virginians, so many men and women in uniform. It was an act of war aimed at the very symbol of American military strength, and Virginia absorbed that blow alongside the rest of the nation. And the years that followed, it was Virginians, many of them stationed right here throughout the Commonwealth, who answered that call once again. Thousands of Virginians to Afghanistan, Iraq, and hundreds lost their lives in the war in Afghanistan and the global war on terror, and now we continue to have so many Virginians who risk everything for the cause of freedom across the globe. But service has always been part of Virginia's shared history, and today nearly 714,000 veterans call Virginia home, roughly 1 in 12 of our 8.8 million residents. In addition to being home to the Pentagon, Virginia is home to the Naval Station Norfolk, the largest naval installation in the world. More than 100,000 active duty and reserve personnel are stationed here right now. And that is precisely why this place, the Virginia War Memorial, and specifically the Shrine of Memory, matters so deeply. Nearly 12,000 names are inscribed on these walls, and yesterday, an extraordinary group of volunteers came and read those names aloud, every single one. A marathon of remembrance that stretched from Sunday afternoon into the night. 12,000 names spoken into the Virginia air so that not one would pass in silence. 12,000 names, and yet we all know they are more than names. They are sons and daughters who promised they'd be home by the holidays. Husbands and wives who left behind half-finished letters. So many of them young people stepping forward to serve our nation at a time of peril. Every single one of them had a story to tell, dreams that were never fully realized, and talents that the world never got to see. We do not come to the Virginia War Memorial today, or any other day for that matter, to look past that profound loss. We come here to look directly at it because it is the most honest way to honor those 12,000 Virginians. In a few moments, the memorial bell will ring 4 times. 4 times for 4 new names that have been added to the Shrine of Memory in the last year. So I want to take a moment with those names. First Lieutenant Carl Livesey of Lee County, Virginia. He served as a navigator on a B-29 Superfortress in the U.S. Army Air Corps. His plane went down over the Pacific on a bombing mission over Japan in 1945. He and his crew were never recovered. Sergeant Robert Heel of Norfolk worked at the Naval Shipyard before World War II, and he later enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Corps in 1943 and served as a radioman on a B-29 Superfortress. His plane collided with another during a training mission over India. He was never recovered. During the Korean War, U.S. Army Corporal Theodore Landy of Norfolk was taken prisoner by North Korean forces and marched to a camp on the banks of the Yalu River, where he later perished from malnutrition. He, too, was never brought home. And finally, U.S. Army Staff Sergeant Mark Stetz, Jr. of Virginia Beach. He served for more than 20 years in the military, and after the September 11 attacks, he served in Operation Iraqi Freedom, and later 2 deployments in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. He worked in Army psychological operations, work that required civilian clothes and quiet courage in places that never made the news. And on a February morning in 2010, he and 2 colleagues were on their way to a ceremony marking the reopening of a girls' school, a school rebuilt with American help, when a roadside bomb took his life. He left behind a wife, 3 daughters, and his parents. For some of these new names, it took years of meticulous research, of refusing to give up, and to finally bring them here, to these walls, to finally say their names in full alongside those who also gave the ultimate sacrifice to a grateful nation and a grateful Commonwealth. And I think about what it means to a family to finally see a grandfather's name, a great uncle's name inscribed here, to know that Virginia remembers, to know that we remember. And think about it, what it says about us, that so many generations on, we are still working to make sure that no memory is left behind, no name is left unsaid. That is the promise this memorial makes, and that is the promise the Commonwealth of Virginia keeps. On Memorial Day, we grieve. It is a hard day because somewhere in our Commonwealth, a child is finally old enough to understand what a folded flag on a bookshelf really means, and carrying that understanding for the very first time. And we honor the Gold Star families, the ones who keep living after the hardest possible thing happened. Their grief is not private. Belongs to all of us, and we carry it together. We carry it together, but we must also ensure that we are remembering those they've lost. 250 years ago, a brave group of individuals, most of them from Virginia, bet their lives on the idea that this nation and this Commonwealth, that it would be worth it, and they were right. And the men and women on these walls, they made that same bet in their own time, in their own way. They were right too. And our job, our shared responsibility, is to be worthy of their sacrifice, to build a Commonwealth and a country equal to the sacrifice that built it, to give life to our extraordinary ideals by carrying it forward for those who served, and by remembering those who fell. And today, on a hillside in our capital city, Virginia is doing that work. Today, 4 new names join the nearly 12,000 already inscribed here. And with the tolling of the bell, we say them. And we say to them what this memorial has always said: we see you, we honor you, we will not forget, and we will endeavor every day to ensure that our nation and our Commonwealth are worthy of your sacrifice. On behalf of a grateful Commonwealth, thank you. Thank you to all who have served. Thank you to those who have given everything. And thank you to those who loved them, lost them, and carry them still. May they rest in the peace that they helped make possible. And may we, all of us together, prove worthy of the gift that they left behind for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Governor. The Shrine of Memory holds the names of nearly 12,000 Virginians who have made the ultimate sacrifice. And as the governor just remarked, we often discover through research or notification by friends or family that names have been inadvertently omitted over the years in the shrine. And then we can add them that they may be honored with all the rest. And that's why it is so important for Virginians to remember that this is your war memorial. We rely on friends, we rely on families to visit the Virginia War Memorial, to look for the names that they know should be there. And every so often, someone lets us know a name is missing. Record keeping wasn't perfect in the 1950s or the 1960s. Every so often, a deserving name is left out. And it's so important that we find those missing names and we add them to that place of honor where they've deserved to be for so long. Some years we add a name or two, other years no names are added at all. However, this past year, as mentioned, we added 4 names to the Shrine of Memory. 4 identities, 4 sets of families who have been waiting for their rightful place etched in glass and stone. We will now ring the memorial bell for each one. Sergeant Robert B. Heel, U.S. Army Air Forces, World War II. First Lieutenant Carl Livesey, U.S. Army Air Forces, World War II. Corporal Theodore Landy, U.S. Army, the Korean War. Staff Sergeant Mark A. Stetz, Jr., U.S. Army, Global War on Terrorism. Thank you. Education is a cornerstone of the War Memorial's mission. You cannot preserve history if you do not teach it to future generations. We know that if we can help tell the stories of those who have served the nation, then some young Virginians will be inspired to serve as well. And every year, the Virginia War Memorial and the Virginia War Memorial Foundation present the Rear Admiral John Marocchi Memorial Scholarship to graduating high school seniors planning to enroll in ROTC programs in college here in Virginia. And although they could not be with us at today's ceremony, I'm very pleased to announce that the winner of this year's Marocchi Scholarship are Hayden James Hess from the Maggie Walker Governor's School, who enroll in Army ROTC at Virginia Tech in the fall. And Abigail Hope Mox, who is actually attending boot camp this week, from Mecklenburg County High School. Abigail will matriculate at the Virginia Military Institute and enroll in Army ROTC. And now, the 29th Division Band Fife and Drum will perform the service medley. Now, this is a little different than the medley we play during Veterans Day. For those veterans in attendance or at home, please stand when you hear your service song played. However, unlike Veterans Day, you're not standing for yourself. You are standing for those fellow service members lost fighting for us. Feel free to applaud when veterans stand. Once again, it's different this time. It's different today. We are standing for them. And now, the 29th Infantry Division Band Service Medley.
thank you for joining us on this Memorial Day from the Virginia War Memorial in Richmond. For additional information about the Virginia War Memorial and the Virginia Department of Veterans Services, please visit dvs.virginia.gov.